I am the managing director at Urban Growers LLP, New Delhi, and we're basically a fresh fruits and vegetable supply company dealing across verticals such as food processing, export, Horeca, and we also supply to hyperlocal players such as these 10-minute delivery startups that have come up. Today, we'll be discussing about fresh fruits and vegetables export from India, the potential, how it goes, what are the number of boxes per container that usually go, what are the different modes of transportation that can be used, what are the general markets that are available for Indian products easily, and what are the upcoming markets that are looking towards India for fresh fruits and vegetable supply. So just to give you a brief background about our company, we started this company back in 2017, and now we do volumes close to 1,000 metric tons per annum. And our main focus currently is on food processing sector. However, we do also work in the export sector. We extensively worked during the COVID lockdown as well. So as we know, fruits and vegetables have a year-round demand. And particularly when it comes to India, we're the second largest producer. But in terms of our export market share, we are significantly behind. 2021 to 2022, India only exported about 11,000 crores worth of fresh fruits and vegetables. However, our top products that are demanded abroad are such as onion, green chili, mangoes. These are a few products where India holds somewhat of a monopoly. And these are easily, they can be transported easily. They are pretty standardized in terms of quality. And in the international market, there is a good demand for these particular products. So the two primary modes that are used are by sea or by air. First, I'll be discussing the products that are viable by sea. As you can see in this list, we mentioned all the products, the packing, the units per 40 feet container. 40 feet container is a 40 feet high ceiling container, refrigerated. So typically what we do is, depending on the client's requirement, again, we can also mix two products and send it. For example, green chili and green lemon, you can mix these two products and send it. Whereas for fruits, usually we don't recommend that much mixing because, there is a chance of deterioration because of the other fruit that you're packing in the container. So one has to be careful. So as we can see here, there is G4 green chili, there is green lemon, there is fresh pomegranate, there's G9 Cavendish banana, there's semi-husked coconut, fresh tomato, and fresh suran. These are the top 7-8 products that India is currently exporting, and we are also currently exporting. Usually the weight that is allowed, maximum weight that is allowed per container is 28 metric tons. However, because we're going ahead with box packaging and everything, the material that we can actually load is way lesser, as you can see in the net weight column. In a 40 feet container, we can only send 13.2 metric tons of green chili. But then again, depending on the product, like for fresh onion, you can easily take this up to about 28, 29 metric tons. The main market right now that even we're dealing in is Dubai because, of its easy accessibility, and there are a lot of Indians that are there in Dubai. So Indian products are much demanded over there. And the sailing time is significantly less. It's only about it takes 3 days for the container to reach from port to port. So that way the total turnaround time is very minimal. Another thing that is noteworthy here is that whenever we're thinking of exporting any product, we have to keep in mind that these are perishable commodities. So, the transit time should typically be not more than 7 to 8 days for any product that you're doing, barring obviously onions and potatoes because they have a higher shelf life. So you can maybe explore markets that take 20, 25 days as well. But anything above that, is not recommended, because no matter how good your refrigeration systems are, these products do not sustain more than that. Also, there are certain documentations that every exporter must have. Um, First is obviously your company has to be registered. You need to have a GST certificate. You need to have an import export code, or an IEC code as we call it. You have to have an APIDA certificate. APIDA certificate is basically a prerequisite for exporting any food commodity, not just fruits and vegetables. Then when you're actually making your shipment, there is something known as a phytosanitary certificate. This is a basic requirement. This gets issued from the plant quarantine department. It is fairly simple. The process is online. You basically just intimate your shipment details, what product you're sending, add your company information, and then you have to send them a sample for checking. And this basically certifies that the entire process from collection of produce from the farmer till container stuffing has been done, in a phytosanitary manner. So this takes care of that. So as far as documentation is concerned, these are the 4 or 5 documents that you need. In addition to this, depending on the region that you're exporting to, there might be a requirement for a pesticide residue test. So what happens in that is you can use agencies like SGS, or there are many, APIDA accredited labs that you can use, which basically test for the pesticide residue of your produce that you're exporting. So mainly European regions, Canada, America, these countries do require you to test for pesticide residue when you're exporting products from India. In addition to this, specifically for mangoes and certain fruits, there is a new technology that has come in, which is called vapor heat treatment or irradiation. This is again a prerequisite for mango exports to, Japan, anywhere in Europe, anywhere in America. If you're planning to export mangoes, this is something that this is an additional process that you have to get done. Again, there are facilities created by APIDA in mango producing regions, specifically in Maharashtra. Now there is one in Lucknow as well, where you can, go ahead for this treatment. And as far as documentation and processing is concerned, these are the only things that are required. Now, coming to the entire process of how you go about it, right? How you procure, pack, and ship. So there are companies that also provide these services. Like our company is one of these companies that provide you with the entire process from procurement from farmers to packing of produce and to container stuffing. So all you as an exporter need to concentrate on is using your IEC code, finding a buyer, and exporting the goods. You don't need to be involved in procuring, packing, and container stuffing. However, if you wish to do so, the process is not that difficult as well, but you need to be sure in terms of quality and in terms of who you're buying from, because this is a non-standardized product. And you will be paying for the produce on the field in advance to the farmer or to the trader, whoever you're getting it from. So the quality you have to be very certain. Usually when we're shipping by sea, the process goes something like this. We first buy the produce from the farmer. We get it to our pack house. The pack houses that we use are in Vashi, Navi Mumbai, because they are closer to the JNPT port. So we get it to the pack house. There we perform sorting and grading on the produce. Then it is packed in the boxes. Then this produce goes for pre-cooling, which is basically it goes into a cold room for about 16 to 18 hours, where we have these blast chillers that, bring down the temperature of the produce. And then these are stuffed into the container and they're shipped at their particular temperature requirement. For example, green chilies go at 4 to 8 degrees. Lemon again goes at 4 to 8 degrees. Banana would go at, plus 13 to plus 15 degrees. Tomato would again go to plus 4 to plus 8. Suran is a product that you can send in refrigerated container and a non-refrigerated container as well. For a non-refrigerated container, I'll be showing the images as well. The door is left half open for the container because ventilation is needed. Otherwise, the produce will get spoiled. Now, there is a trade-off here when you are buying from the farmer, or you're buying from a company like ours. Obviously, we do charge extra for the services that we're providing, so you might end up spending a little more. But initially, if you're a new exporter, I would advise you buy packed finished product from some company and focus on exporting it and collecting your payment from your overseas buyer. Because what any company would charge, including ours, would be 5% over the cost. And what you'll realize is that saving that 5% sometimes might turn out to be more expensive as an exporter, because like I said, the product is non-standardized. So you might end up buying produce that cannot be exported or does not have the adequate shelf life or is not according to the international requirements. So that, one must keep in mind. Coming to our products by air. So this is the list of items that usually go by air. This is fresh okra. There are beans. There are two kinds of beans that are currently exported. There are beans papri and cluster beans. Then there is small onion, there is drumsticks, and there's bitter gourd. The packaging has also been mentioned. Usually a container, when we're exporting by air, is about 1500 kgs. And in order to get a good rate for shipping, your shipment size must be above 500 kgs. Above 5, airlines have slabs, say 0 to 50, 50 to 100, 100 to 150, and so on. So the maximum slab that they have is plus 500, where they give the lowest rate, because this is counted as a bulk shipment. So for fresh produce, usually we target anywhere around 1000 to 1500 kgs per shipment. Now, when we're exporting by air, what this does is the total turnaround time, like I mentioned, by sea would typically be, even if we look at our nearest market, which is Dubai, it is 7 days for Dubai. Whereas by air, the total turnaround time is significantly lower. If we were to ship anything from India to Dubai by air, we would have a same day delivery sort of a system, because the time for the flight is just 4 hours. So this gives us a chance to deal in slightly more perishable commodities as well, such as okra is highly perishable, drumsticks are perishable, bitter gourd again is very perishable. It cannot sustain a 4-day or a 7-day shipping time. So the only option is to export by air. Exporting by air is typically costlier, obviously. After the pandemic, there have been a lot of disturbances in freight rates and everything. So, in fact, immediately after the pandemic, airlines started charging anywhere from 100 to 150 rupees per kg for a place like Dubai, for a route like Bombay to Dubai. Whereas typically now the rates have come down. The usual rates are around 80 to 85 per kg that they charge. There is also something worth mentioning over here, that the UP state, Uttar Pradesh, has started with a lot of schemes for promoting export from UP. So Varanasi is coming up as one of the main hubs now in UP for fresh produce export. And, recently we had also explored Lucknow. So there are direct flights from Lucknow to Dubai almost every day of the week. And the shipping cost from Lucknow is typically 50% of what you would end up paying on a route, say Delhi to Dubai or Bombay to Dubai. So that is worth exploring. Also, distant markets such as the US, Canada, Australia, Singapore, Japan. For these markets, typically, we recommend that you ship your product by air, again, you have to select your commodity very carefully, because when you're exporting by air, especially when it comes to fresh fruits and vegetables, your air freight is higher than your product cost. So something exotic like, say, mangoes or dragon fruits, or even, fresh guavas for that matter, or maybe fresh okra for that matter, would work out. But something like, if you say that I want to export onions by air, that is obviously non-viable, because that's a low cost commodity anywhere you go globally. So when we're shipping by air, usually, these are the 7, 8 products that we do. In addition to the list that is presented, there is, you can do fresh mangoes, you can do dragon fruit from India, then you can do custard apple, you can do fresh guavas. And for distant markets, typically by air always, works out better, because even though we transport by sea using refrigerated containers, there is a certain water loss that we have to bear every day, because fresh produce releases water. So say if you've stuffed your container with 20 metric tons of goods and your shipping time is 20 days, even though there is refrigeration, you will lose about 1 metric ton of water. So, and there is a quality loss as well. So on longer routes, by air works out. This is, as I was saying, there are more products that can go by air. There is fresh VNR guava, there is fresh custard apple, you can do gooseberry, you can do sapota. These are products that India still commands a very good market share in. But again, it's all about finding the right buyers at the right places with the right payment terms. Where Indian exporters today are actually, uh, bearing a loss, or so to speak, they're not being able to crack through his payment terms. Because anywhere, globally, you see any global market, China for example, China doesn't export anything on outright credit, whereas Indian exporters, and specifically exporters in the fresh commodity segment, provide credit, 100% credit. So for new exporters, that becomes a barrier to entry, because exporting into an international market and, giving credit to someone who you don't know, or you barely know for a while, and it's a different jurisdiction, so it becomes a bit of a challenge. So first time exporters, or even seasoned exporters for that matter, should, you know take into account that we must not provide 100% credit to the customer. You should take, an LC, or if nothing else, there is a service by the name of ECGC, which is basically an insurance against default of payment from an international buyer. So any good importers internationally are impaneled within this ECGC, and ECGC is basically an insurance against your bad debt. So the premiums are not that high, but it safeguards 90 to 95% of your payment if you are going to, give credit to your importer, whoever he or she is. But one thing one must remember is, again, ECGC gives you 90 to 95% coverage, but it does take a significant amount of time. And also your exporter, or your importer, sorry, must be impaneled within ECGC to avail this benefit. But this is a service that every exporter must use, because it safeguards, 95% of your problems, so to speak. Now I'll be sharing a few slides on, how the fresh produce goes, where the origin is from. So when it comes to fresh drumsticks, packaging is usually in net bags. It's a 4 kg net weight net bag. Usually 1200 kgs per container is what we do. This is what, the produce looks like, and this is what it looks like when it's packed. So these labels that you see is where the, consignee name, lot number, and everything would be put by the airlines. Then there is VNR Thai guava, as I discussed. Again, 1200 kgs. The origin where you can find these are Rajasthan, Gujarat, and Madhya Pradesh predominantly. Mode of transportation again is recommended by air, but if you're looking at countries, say Dubai, Sri Lanka, or places nearby, you can explore the sea route as well. The packaging is somewhat done like this. We use a protective fruit net, which basically ensures ventilation as well, and it ensures that the fruit does not touch each other to avoid any quality loss. Then we have fresh okra. The packaging specification is, again, it's a 4.5 kg net weight box. The origin for this is Gujarat, MP, and UP. As I was saying, UP is now promoting fresh fruits and vegetable export at a large scale. There are air freight subsidies, there are last mile subsidies. There's a lot of things. You can check it out online as well. And it's a very good opportunity right now to set up actually something in UP, because it is a virgin territory, so to speak. Bombay or maybe the South, if you look at states like Kerala or Bangalore, these are still saturated markets. There are enough established players over here. This is somewhat the quality of okra that we currently provide. Then you have G9 bananas. This typically goes by C. The specifications are given, pre-cooling and transportation temperature, the number of boxes per container. G9 bananas predominantly are exported from Maharashtra, but Andhra Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh are also two areas where you can look at for sourcing. Currently, one of the biggest companies doing G9 Cavendish banana is Desai Fruits and Vegetables. I'm sure you must have seen a brand by the name of Happy Banana as well in the market. So, they are one of the largest exporters right now from India. And India has a very good market share when it comes to G9 banana. It's a good segment to be in, but again, this is a segment where it's high volume and low margin. You can typically, if you're doing a product like banana, you won't be getting more than 3 to 5% of net profits. So it's a high volume game, it's capital intensive. Whereas there are other products that are not as capital intensive, and the risk reward ratio is slightly better. So this is somewhat the quality that goes. These are the boxes that I used. As you can see, there is a layer of foam again in the middle, to avoid the skin of two fruits touching from each other. Then on top of that, there is a poly bag that is used, and this is vacuum sealed to avoid any air ventilation, because if this gets any air ventilation, these would start to ripe. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that we get unripened banana at the time of delivery as well, because wherever we're delivering, they also need 1 or 2 weeks to clear the container. Then we have fresh lemon. This is again a product that is heavily demanded from India. India is one of the largest producers as well. Main markets again would be, Middle East, Singapore, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh. These are the main markets, export markets. Nepal and Bangladesh are obviously accessible by road, but for others, Sri Lanka, Dubai, and Singapore, we go by sea. The packaging specification is 7 kg net box, 7 kg net weight box, and in a 40 feet container, typically you get around 3 to 50 boxes, which is around 20 to 23 metric tons. Now this is transported at plus 8 degrees Celsius. This is our current quality that we procure. This is from Andhra Pradesh. And these are the boxes that I used. Then there is G4 green chili. This is in fact the top product that India currently exports. This goes by air, this goes by sea. It has a year-round demand, as I said. Depending on the season, you can check the origin. You get it from Karnataka, you get it in Andhra Pradesh, you get it in Maharashtra, Gujarat. You also get it in UP. In fact, right now is the green chili season for UP. So, any exporters, merchant exporters wanting to explore, we can, provide these as well. Then there's fresh pomegranate. Specifications is as follows. Then there's elephant yam or suran. This is a typical South dominant product. As I was saying, suran is one product that goes in refrigerated and non-refrigerated as well. So for non-refrigerated containers, it's usually an OD or 20 feet container, which means a one door open container. So this typically goes, in somewhat this way. As you can see on the bottom right, this is a one door open container, and the door of the container, basically, we just put a frame so that the produce doesn't fall out, but this ensures adequate ventilation. Then you have tomatoes. These are typically available from Maharashtra and Karnataka. Also, states like UP and Haryana have these. So you can also buy from here, pack on the field, and export it directly. Tomato is one product that you can actually pack on the field and is recommended to pack on the field because, it's a very price sensitive product. It's again a high volume, low margin product. Tomatoes that usually go in for export are absolutely unripe. Um any red tomato that you put in the box, has a chance of damaging the entire thing. So one has to be very careful at the time of grading. Again, as you would see, each and every piece here in the box is quality checked and quality graded. The size is consistent, the color is consistent. So when we're exporting, we have to be very consistent in quality. So the grading that you will be doing of your fresh produce will matter a lot. Then you have fresh ginger. Origin is again Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Assam. Typically, we do it more from Maharashtra. We buy our produce from Karnataka and transport it by road to Navi Mumbai Vashi. And there we, sort, grade, and pack it. So these are our boxes that we use. On the left top hand side, you can see how the ginger is when it is harvested, whereas the right side image is when we wash it. So ginger is one thing that you need to wash before you export because this dust, you cannot pack it with dust. For Nepal and Bangladesh markets, you can because they don't have a stringent requirement and you'll be shipping in jute sacks only. So, but for any other market, it has to be thoroughly washed. Then you have coconut. Main origin is Kerala and Tamil Nadu. This is a product that everyone has seen, I'm sure. This has a very high shelf life. So it is a safe product in terms of quality deterioration. Like something like green chilies or even a lemon, I would say, is more challenging. But onion, coconut, these are safe products that will give you a very good shelf life. So, say, even if you're shipping it to a place like Dubai, how the market in Dubai works is they sell it at current market rates. So, if your market rate is not good, coconut is one product that you can even store and, wait till the market actually comes up. So, this gives you that flexibility as well. Then there is fresh onion. Again, this is a very common product that is exported. Again, very high volume, very low margins, but easy to ship, easy to procure. And, it's a product that you can very easily get started on if you have good international relations in business, or if you know someone specifically in the Middle East, there is a very stable business that you can do when it comes to onions. You know, there is easy availability, it's very easy to grade, it's very easy to ship. As I was saying, we are a multi-vertical firm dealing in fresh fruits and vegetables. Here's our couple of our clients that we are currently dealing with. In addition to this, we also supply to people like Cremica Foods. As you can see, we cater to hospitals, we cater to supermarkets, we cater to hyperlocal, we also do exports. And in fact, this catalog is all of our products that we provide to merchant exporters ready to ship. So all you need to do is have your paperwork in place. For that also, we do hand holding. We consult as well to make sure that you have end-to-end support. And we also help exporters figuring out, their payment terms and what terms to provide. Yeah, so that's about it. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them on.
Thank you, Mr. Arnab, for the detailed presentation. Now I'll take up some questions. In the meantime, you can stop sharing the screen and on your video if you're okay with it.
Actually, I'm somewhere out. So
Okay, no problem. Yeah. So the first question is, what are the key steps involved in exporting fruits and vegetables from India and from the initial preparation to the final shipment?
So as I said, it will typically depend on your product, but usually the thumb rule is first is obviously procurement from the farmers. Then is the packing, sorting, grading at the pack house. Then comes your pre-cooling if you're shipping by sea. Then comes your documentation, in which there is a set of 5 documents required, which is your IEC code, your GST certificate, your APIDA certificate, your phytosanitary certificate, and depending on the country or the region that you're exporting to, you might be required to attach a pesticide residue test as well.
And next question, can you provide overview of the documentation and regularity requirements that entrepreneurs need to fulfill when exporting fruits and vegetables?
So these are the 5 documents that you need to have for any country, any region. Apart from this, there is a new technology that has come up, which is a GI tag, which is a geographical indicator. It is not available for all fruits and vegetables yet, but specialities such as Ratnagiri Alfonso mangoes have a GI tagging available. What any first-time exporter must ensure is a set of these 5 documents. And most importantly, what they must ensure is the payment terms that they're exporting at. Many a times people are exporting at 100% credit. So that is something that someone needs to be very careful about. And if you are going to give someone produce on credit, please make sure that you get an ECGC coverage, because this will protect 95% of your payment. And this will also give you a background on the buyer, because if the buyer is genuine and if the buyer is credible, they will be impaneled with the ECGC. So ECGC coverage, is something that entrepreneurs must be careful about.
Yeah, okay. Next question. What are the essential quality standards and certifications that need to be met to ensure compliance with the international export regulations?
International quality standards would see, it's a non-standardized product. Fresh fruits and vegetables as a commodity is a non-engineered, non-standardized product. But however, we can ensure, such as you must have seen in our presentation as well, like fresh lemon, for example, should be 30 mm and above when you're exporting. Fresh onion, depending on the market that you're exporting to, should be according to that requirement. For example, for Dubai, you require a 55 mm plus size. Whereas for Sri Lanka, if you're exporting onions, you only require a 45 mm plus size. Then if you come to a market like say Nepal or Bangladesh, sizes 35 mm above when it comes to onion would work as well. In terms of certification, you don't really need certification unless and until you're going for organic produce. Organic, if you are exporting something and you're claiming for it to be organic, you need an organic certificate. Depending on the region, you would either need a USDA organic or you would require a normal organic certification. Other than that, there is just a list of those 5 documents that I mentioned that you require.
Okay. And next question, are there any specific packaging and labeling requirements for exporting? And how can entrepreneurs ensure their products meet these standards?
Yeah, so in terms of packaging, there is a specification. You need to have a 5-ply box. You need to have, according to the market that you're exporting to, in those markets, everywhere internationally, fresh produce is channeled through mandis. They may not be called mandis. In the US, you call them farmers market. In the West, again, anywhere in the West, you'll call them farmers market. In Dubai and everywhere, it is actually called a mandi only. So they already have a set packaging requirement. Usually, the packaging that we've shown in our slides is what is globally done. And as far as labeling is concerned, when you're shipping by air, you need to put individual labels on each and every box or each and every packet, depending on whatever you're packaging in. But when you're shipping it by sea, you need not put any label on your boxes as such.
Okay. Next question, how can entrepreneurs identify potential export market for their fruits and vegetables, and what are the factors should be considered when selecting target countries?
So there are a lot of ways to go about finding buyers. If you're willing to shell out money, you can also get, there are a lot of companies that give export import data. So you can get in touch with one of these companies. They'll give you export data on your particular product. Say if you want export data for fresh fruits and vegetables for last month from Mumbai, from JNPT port, that is available at a cost. Then other than that, you can look at general trends. You can look, a very good way to find buyers is actually if you follow the news very closely and you see where there is a shortage of what, and you target those places, because this is a product that is affected by climatic conditions as well. So if there is a drought somewhere, or if there is flooding somewhere, or if there is a emergency somewhere, or if a certain country was exporting from a certain was importing from a certain country, and there are suddenly sanctions put on them, so they cannot import from that region anymore, that becomes an open market. So there are many ways. There are websites where you can find this data. There are consultants that will provide you this data at a cost, and there is your general market survey as well, as I said.
Okay. And can you share some insights into the logistics and transportation options available for exporting perishable goods like fruits and vegetables, and what are the associated costs?
So cost would vary time to time. It depends on supply demand of the container availability. It depends on cost of fuel, cost of oil globally. It depends on a lot of factors. So I won't be able to give you a specific calculation. But like I said, currently, if you're exporting by air, the typical easiest market for India today is Dubai. And the maximum trade that is being done in fresh fruits and vegetables is with Dubai. So when we talk about Dubai, anywhere if you're exporting from the south by air, your shipping cost would be in the bracket of 50 to 55 per kg. If you're doing it from a place like Delhi or Bombay, it would be in the bracket of 80 to 90 per kg. If you're doing it from a place like Lucknow, it would be around 40 to 50 rupees per kg. By sea, if you're doing it, then JNPT to Jebel Ali, that is the Dubai port, this has a lot of operators in terms of shipping lines. The rates would typically go from anywhere between 1.5 lakh to 2 lakh rupees per 40 feet container.
Okay. And are there any government schemes or incentives available to support entrepreneurs in the export of these fruits, and how can they benefit from these programs?
So there are government schemes, however, they are not very easily accessible to all. as most government schemes are not. But there are schemes. You used to have an MEIS drawback, which is now discontinued. It's called a RODTEP drawback. You get about a 2% or 3% duty drawback when you export fresh fruits and vegetables. It depends on product to product what the incentive is. It is anywhere between from 1 to 4%. And how you get this is basically it is a license where you get a rebate on duty, and you can use it to adjust it against your, if say you're importing something and you have to pay a custom fee, then you can use it to settle it against that, or you can even sell this license in the market to people. They buy it at 95-97% of the value of the license. Other than that, there is, in terms of finance, you have loan facilities available. Typically this is called as a pre-shipment packing, pre-shipment finance. So this basically finances about 90% of your export shipment. Every bank provides this. But for this, you need to have a confirmed order from the buyer, and the payment has to be either via LC or it has to be an advance payment. If you are exporting on credit, you cannot avail this facility.
Okay. And what are the common challenges and risks faced by entrepreneurs in the export of fruits, and how can they be mitigated?
Common challenges are mostly in terms of payment, because in order to start working in the market, you need to start working as other people are working. Unfortunately, all other exporters provide credit, and as I said, they give it on 100% credit. They don't even take 10% of the shipment value advance. There is no concept of LC. In fact, this is the only product, I think, which is exported at credit and no payment is taken up front. So that is a very big challenge. If your payment is not secure, you're always at the mercy of someone else. So that is a significant challenge. Other than that, there are quality challenges, there are procurement challenges. But for that, as I said, there is our company, there are many more companies like ours as well. Uh, you know, there are companies that would take the entire process from procurement to stuffing your container, and would work on a 5% margin. Like we work on a 5 to 7% margin. So whatever the cost is, we work at cost plus 5 to 7%. And we also provide, hand holding in terms of your documentation, in terms of packaging, in terms of everything is taken care of by us. What you as an exporter need to focus on is finding the right buyer, cracking the right deal, and ensuring that your payment is secure and safe. So that is a challenge that we've managed to mitigate. Other than this, what you can mitigate at your end is obviously just the payment terms. Quality standardization, you can have good suppliers, you can have a good vendor network, but payment is something that, any exporter or entrepreneur has to take head on.
Okay. And can you provide some examples of success stories or case studies of entrepreneurs who have successfully exported from India, and what strategies did they employ?
So like I said, if you look at bananas, there is Desai Fruits and Vegetables. They have a brand by the name of Happy Banana, extremely successful, very large in terms of size. They are doing business worth millions of dollars every financial year. It's a profitable organization. And what they focused on is, end to end. Like in any business, for it to be successful, you need to focus on every small and big aspect. So they focused on everything from farmer procurement to supply chain management to ensuring that they create a brand in this segment. It's a commoditized segment. It is something that sells by the kg. There is no brand as such of fruits and vegetables. Like you have brands for milk, you have brands for breads, but you don't have a brand for fruits and vegetables. So, they actually managed to create a brand in this segment where there is no brand known. So I think they are a very good example to look at, to learn from. They've invested in farmer training. They've invested in, training their partners who handle the produce, the way they ship their containers as well. Like, for example, during the COVID lockdown, or I think immediately after that, they they started exporting from Andhra Pradesh. So from Andhra Pradesh till Bombay, JNPT, they actually transported their containers by rail and then shipped it by sea. So, these logistical optimizations at scale, they're a very good case study to, learn from.
Okay. Now we are left with just a couple of questions. What are the emerging trends and market opportunities in the global fruit and vegetable export industry, and how can entrepreneurs capitalize on these trends?
So see, globally now, what is happening now is that people are trying to look away from China when it comes to everything in terms of import. So India does have a very good opportunity there. However, our products need to be at par in terms of quality. For example, if we see ginger, China is the largest exporter for fresh ginger. And I think India and China are almost at par, or India might be slightly, behind China when it comes to production of ginger. But we're not able to export as much because our quality is not up to international standards. However, now if you can actually, work backwards, where you can grow what is required, where you can tie up with farmers and actually provide them with that quality of seed, which gives that quality of product, then that is a trend that, one must catch on to. For example, for garlic as well, China is again the largest supplier. Whereas India also produces a lot of garlic, but our garlic size is not at par with the Chinese. So that's where we lose a lot of market share. I think what one must, anyone who's coming new into the sector, they must try and get into the backward integration part of it, because finding a buyer is fairly easy. It's not that hard to do. But supplying the right quality of product consistently throughout the year at attractive prices, that is something that one needs to figure out. Other than this, there is a very growing trend of exotic fruits. Like if we talk about mangoes only specifically right now, since we're in the midst of the mango season, uh, Indian mangoes have a very good demand globally, and you'll get them in London, you'll get them in the US, you'll get them everywhere. But there is only a handful of exporters who are actually controlling the market as of now. And it's not that hard to get into, everyone has someone living abroad. So, you must use your own connections to crack that market. And it's very easy. It's a food product. It's always in demand. You just need to know how to sell it once it reaches there. So specialty products is a trend that, new entrepreneurs must encash now.
Okay, so now we have the last question. Please let us know a little about your career background and what made you to take an interest in this field.
So actually, we started this company in 2017. We got into mushroom production initially, and we had, 2, 3 farms for growing mushrooms indoors. And soon we realized that there is a gap in terms of supply chain. There is a gap in terms of reliable vendors when it comes to this segment. And there is a potential for organizing this unorganized space. So then we pivoted to pure play trading and service, providing services such as export packaging. We also do a lot of business with the food processing sector. As I said, we supply to Cremica, we supply to Damia Foods. These are companies that manufacture sauces and pickles. So we connect farmers with these companies. How I got into it was actually by accident. We just got into it with mushrooms, and one step just led to another, and then we saw a lot of growth and potential. And as I said, last year we handled close to 1,000 metric tons, which is quite a lot of volume. Then we started also, dealing with companies like Dunzo, like Ola Foods. We also supply to hospitals, which is basically a business to business supply. So the idea is that, we're trying to create a fresh fruits and vegetables supply company which deals in all verticals. and we're specialists when it comes to perishables. We want to just do perishables and concentrate on perishables and provide end-to-end services and support when it comes to it for all verticals, be it processing, be it retail, be it Horeca, be it export. So that's about it.
Okay, that's very good to know. So I think, yeah, no more questions. So now we have come to end of question round. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, we like to thank you for a detailed presentation and answering all the questions in depth. And we also like to thank all the participants for joining this meeting. The meeting will now be closed. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Thank you.